let's go to Big Lenny. You say Big Lenny, everybody knows who you're talking about. You have a name, you have a purpose too, because it wasn't just serving up food. It was people always gathering around. If I came and got a dog from you, I knew I was going to be entertained by the group of people who were also there. You attracted very interesting.
Yeah, we had characters.
Tell me a little bit about some of your regulars.
Oh, gee, it's funny. I had a guy, and I probably shouldn't mention his name. I don't think I should. He's passed on now, but he had come there for like 17 years. He used to come every day. Never bought a hot dog. But never. He would come. It was his hang around. He'd tell us stories about World War II. He was on the old wooden deck carriers. He was, this, then. He loved to hang around. He'd tell jokes. He'd hang around all the time talking to the kids. He just enjoyed being there. It was like the general store with the checkerboard. He came. He'd bring me coffee in the afternoon. He just that was his hangout. And I'd look up and I'd see his car come. And then he had gotten, as he got older, he wasn't. One day I look up the street and I see a line of traffic coming down. He's going about 6 miles an hour coming down Route 7. All these cars lined up behind me. He pulls in, but he was a character and great guy. Over the years, I had Smitty, the hubcap man that used to sell hubcaps there next to me. I had Earl, the golf ball king over there. I had John, the hubcap guy, Johnny Hubcaps. Before Smitty got the hubcaps, there was this guy, John, from Brandon. He passed on. And they were all characters, but I mean, that's what you had. You had people, I watched kids grow up. I mean, I got kids that were coming to me when they were 10 years old, 8 years old. Now they're 30s and 40s. They bring their kids in for a hot dog,
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, when I fell on some tough times, when Susan got sick and everything, and people were reaching out to me, and it was, posting these stories, and I forgot about them. I didn't realize what an impact I made on certain people, just by being, it's important to talk to people, and I care about people. So when I see somebody, when I say, hey, how you doing? I want to know how they're doing. I don't, I'm not making conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, here's a question for you. How did you become Big Lenny? I mean, you've been here, you've been in Rutland a little over 40 years, right?
41 years, yeah.
41 years. So did you come here and instantly open up shop, or was this something that just sort of happened?
No, when I first moved here 41 years ago, I worked as a chef. When I lived in Connecticut, I moved here from Connecticut. And like I say, over half my life, I've lived in Rutland now. And I moved here, and when I first moved here, I worked at the Red Clover Inn. I was the chef under the Talagnons owned it. They were the original owners of the Red Clover. And I started working for them, and I worked there for 6.5 years as a chef. And, I ended up leaving there, and then I went to the Governor's Table. And Ron and Feeney Schutz, who formerly owned the Tulip Tree in Chittenden, which were friends when I lived in Connecticut. We used to come up here, and I knew the Talagnons because I used to stay at the Red Clover, and I knew the Schutzes because we used to stay at the Tulip Tree Inn. And so they had talked to me, and the Schutzes, Ron and Feeney, bought the Governor's Table, and they opened it up, and they wanted me to become chef there. So I went to work there as a chef, and they were there probably about, I want to say maybe about 1.5 years, and they decided to sell because the daughter was getting older, and they said, we want to spend time with her, and it's too much with the restaurant business. So they were selling the place. So when they sold the place, they had said to the people buying it, if you interested in Lenny, the chef, he'll stay with you. And they said, no, we have a chef. So from the Governor's Table, I went to, where'd I go? Next door, Royals, next door. I didn't have to walk far. Al Delantash had bought Royals Hartside, and he owned Ashbells. There was Ashbells. Well, no, Ernie Royal was still there. Ernie was still there. but he bought Ashbells. They had opened up, and they had the Royal Market downstairs. I ran the Royal Market downstairs, and Mark Reardon and Barbara, his wife now, they were Barbara Boswick. They were the managers, and I ran like the market and the downstairs. So it was. I worked there during the stint that Al Delantash was in town, and things were Al was there was a little shaky. I don't know what was going on there, but he was getting out of the business, and he said to me that he said, why don't you, I want to give you some severance pay, and you find something else. I said, no problem, and I went to work for Louis Iliano at Little Naples, where I worked for about six years or so up on the mountain across the street from Churchill's. I was the chef there for a while. So I worked in a lot of higher end restaurants as a chef. But while I was at Little Naples, a friend of mine, his name was Reggie Grunewald, I got to know them. They lived on the corner of Madison and Pleasant. In Jack Daly's old house, Mayor Daly's house. They had bought that house, and they were from Long Island, and they used to come in for dinners all the time. Reggie said to me one day, or his girlfriend Joni at the time, which is now his wife, said, "You got to meet my boyfriend Reggie. He comes up from Long Island. You're gonna love him. You guys had hit it off." So he came in, and he loved the restaurant. He would come every time when they were there. He's always in the restaurant. If he was up every Friday night, they're coming in, Little Naples and eating. So one day he said to me, "Boy, I always wanted to have a hot dog cart." He goes, "Wouldn't that be fun?" I said, "Yeah, it'd be cool." He said to me, "How about if I buy a hot dog cart?" He said, "We go partners on a hot dog cart." I said, "Yeah, sounds good." So he goes up to Boston. He buys two, I don't know, up or down, where else. He went to Boston anyways. He goes to Boston. He buys this stainless steel push cart, and it was a pretzel cart. It was selling soft pretzels. Brings it back. Now this is February. I started in 1980. February, we're gonna sell hot dogs, so we're big shots, hey, we're going out, we're selling hot dogs, we got a hot dog cart. So we get out there, and it's like 20 below zero, the wind is blowing, I got frosted snow in my beard, ice and everything, and we're out there like two idiots trying to sell hot dogs and soft pretzels. We sold a couple, we did all right. So we did that for about 5-6 days, and then we said, this isn't gonna work. So then we closed down, we waited for the spring, and then we reopened again. So we were doing it, and it was we did it for a while, and then it was in the floral business down in Long Island. His business, he wanted to go back down. His daughter was running it, but he had to, jump it up a little bit. So he said to me, "Keep the cart, and just don't worry about it. Pay me a little bit. Pay me $100 a month for it if you want." He said, "Don't worry about it." He goes, so that's what I did. I kept running it. And it was just a push cart. It was a pain in the neck trying to get it off the cart every day. The truck, I built a ramp, and then it fell over. And so I ended up, every year I would add on to it. I'd put a little section on it. I found a little trailer that was low, and I rolled it up there. And then I used to roll it off the trailer instead of getting it on the back of the truck. So one day I'm over there, and I bought this trailer, but it was only about a foot and a half off the ground, so it was perfect. So I get down there, it starts raining. So I'm standing on the trailer. I put the umbrella in the middle, and I'm standing there. I'm like under the umbrella, oh boy, And so all of a sudden the car pulls in. The guy goes, "Hey, I'll have a hot dog." Okay, I give him the hot dog. And he leaves, he pays me, and I leave. I'm standing on the umbrella, the rain's coming down. Another guy pulls in, "Hey, give me a hot dog." And I give him a hot dog, right? So I sell about 3-4 hot dogs that day, like that. And all of a sudden the guy comes in, he said, "What a great idea having this on the trailer." I said, "You're right. This is a great idea. What the hell am I taking it off every day for?" Right? So I go home that night. I built a shelf on the side. I put a couple more flags on there, an umbrella, 2 umbrellas on there, and I'm making myself a little stand. I get on there. I did that for probably, about a month. Then I said, I'm going to build shelves all around it. And I started building shelves. And it was a work in progress. Every year I built something else. I put sides on it. I put roof on it. Then I put swing outs. I put a door around it. Before you know it, I closed it all in. Yeah. And I did that, but I was still working in the restaurant. I worked 2 jobs. So I get out of work from the cart at 4. I close at 4. I'd come home, change my clothes, put on my whites, run to the restaurant, throw all my dirty dishes in the sink, go to the restaurant, work until 12 midnight, come home, clean all my stuff up. You have to go shopping down at Price Chopper. They were open 24 hours. And I'd start out the next morning doing the same thing again. And I did that. And I did it for years. And a buddy of mine said to me, Lenny, it was about 15 years went by, and he said to me, you want to be a hot dog man or you want to be a chef? He goes, because you're going to kill yourself working 2 jobs. And I said, you know what? I think I'd rather be a hot dog man, because I said, he doesn't work Sundays. He doesn't work holidays. He doesn't work nights. I said, I want to be the hot dog man. I'm going to stick with the hot dog man. So I ended up going to the bank, and I took out a loan. I built my bigger trailer. That's the one I had, up until, I sold. And so I did that. And then my when I opened the inside place, I was like 69 years old at the time, and 69, 68 maybe. And Roger, that don't care me, said to me, hey, old man, he goes, what are you going to do? Die on the side of the road? He said, go see Joe Giancola down on the corner and see how much he wants for that deal. Make a deal with him. Go indoors, And that's what I did. And I decided to open up the Big Lenny's inside job. And the rest was, and then I did it for 9 months, and then everything hit the fan, and that was it, But
well, but you had a hell of a run, and the thing about it is, I'm always interested in those stories, but you were getting ready to say something. Go ahead.
No, but that's, I had planned on going back, but it didn't happen that way. It didn't happen. It did. I ended up with health issues. Susan never got better. And, it is what it is. But I miss everybody. You know what I mean? I really miss the people. But you know what? It's time to pass it on. I tried to sell it during the COVID. Nobody's really, looking for places. I'm trying to work something out. Giancolas have been phenomenal to me. I can't say enough good about. They're saints in my book.
Joe's good like that, yeah.
Joe Giancola and family, and David and Barbara, Peter, God rest his soul, the salt of the earth. I mean, I can't say enough good for that. What those people have done for me in my life in Rutland here. What Rutland has done for Big Lenny, and that's it's I don't know. Oh, and you said about becoming Big Lenny. I didn't know what I was going to call it. Originally I opened up. I called it the missing link. I was known as the missing link, and everybody go, hey, Big Lenny, and they kept calling me Big Lenny. So I said, hey, you know what? I changed the name to Big Lenny's, right? And then it was funny because I had lost weight, and I had lost 100 pounds. I went from like 400 down to 300 pounds. Just watching what I eat, walking, trying to be, a little healthier lifestyle. So my email address used to be biglenny@aol.com at one time, right? So then I lost. Somebody said, boy, you're not so big anymore. And I said, yeah, you know what? So then I changed it to notsobiglenny@yahoo.com. So that's my email address, notsobiglenny. But I just, I love to get down there in it was like you get down there and it's a whole different world. I pull in and I would always say, what I like about, selling hot dogs, it's like, for a couple of bucks, you can throw people out if you want. I say them, but I did throw a guy out of there one time. I told him, it was like the soup Nazi on Seinfeld. No more hot dogs for you. You go now. That was it. But it's just, I loved it. And it would be for years, like Susan would say to me, we'd be somewhere and she'd go, honey, who's that guy? And I'd say, I don't know his name. I said, he's mustard and relish, though. I know that. I knew people by what they ate. That guy's double sauerkraut with heavy.
It's like a bartender.
And that's how you know the people.
It's like a bartender knowing what people drink. Yeah.
Exactly. And I've often said that about myself. I said, I'm like a bartender with no booze. You get to know everybody. I knew generations. I knew the grandfather, the grandmother, the mother, the father, little Billy, Johnny, Betty, and you know everybody, and I watch these kids, they graduate grammar school. I watch them graduate high school. I watch them go to college. I had kids playing on my little league team, I had the Mighty Mites, the Little League team. God bless Doc LaPlaque, Tommy LaPlaque. I swear he was the best. I miss him so much.
Sponsored Little League?
Pardon? Oh yeah, all the
You
time.
sponsored Little League? And
Yeah.
stuff?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
People could say they played for Big Lenny's team.
I got Big Lenny. I got one called the Missing Links. Was a team. I got the Big Lenny's. It was. I got, matter of fact, Tommy LaPlaque, I gave him a shirt. I had golf shirts that said Big Lenny's with the cross bats on it. It said manager, you know, I gave him one.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but we, you know, there was different names. I had different, you know, I'm trying to think offhand. I have several of the shirts upstairs still, you know, that I would, you know, order shirts for the kids and everything. But it was fun. And when I didn't have the money, Doc LaPlaque he'd say to me, Lenny, don't worry about it. I got the shirts this year. You know what I mean? And he was the best.
Yeah.
You know, and kids that played for me, his son Anthony. I mean, he's a big Washington, D.C. hotshot lawyer, you know, and I mean, these kids went on to, you know, it's amazing. You know, I touched a lot of lives. A lot of lives touched me, and I'm blessed for it, Dave. I tell you, I'm blessed. Yeah, I can't say it enough. You know what I mean? It's and I often thought if somebody bought my place, that I'd get on there, I'd be the ambassador. You know, I'd be Big Lenny. I'd go hang around. I used to tell people. Somebody said, you know, what would you like to? And I said, you know what? You ever watch the show The Sopranos? I said, you know, Paulie Walnuts, he sits out front with this thing with his thumb. I said, drinking espresso. That's what I want to do over here on you know, right on Strong's Avenue. I said, I want to sit at a little table, have a little espresso, wait to the cars. I said, that'd be my retirement. I'd love that. And
there you go.
That would have been a good life. I mean, you know, that'd be a good life. A friend of mine, well, he was Susan's brother-in-law. Henry lives down in Brattleboro, and you know, he often said to me, he goes, I got to call the mayor of Rutland. He said, maybe there's a job that they can give you as an ambassador for Rutland. You could just be the ambassador. I said, is there such a job? I don't know if they got one like that. I said, it'd be a good job if it pays, right? I'd be Rutland's ambassador. I said, I don't want. Somebody said to me one time, they said, why don't you run for mayor? They said, why don't you run for mayor? You'd probably win. I said, I want to keep all my friends. I don't want to be mayor. They said, you know, you become mayor, everybody, hey, you know, I got a pothole in front of my house. It's driving me nuts. You know, I just, I love people, you know, I love people. You know, that's all I could say.
Right on. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you about, Lenny, you know, you've been here 41 years and you were a chef in town as well as on the mountain.
Yeah.
So you've really seen the culture. There was at one time a very big restaurant culture that went on in Rutland. And people went out. It was a place where a lot of families went out. You think of Rutland restaurant,
you
know, Savvy, stuff like that.
Like
so
Savvy's, I was there. I was Savvy over 6 years.
Okay.
You know?
So, yeah, I'd love to hear more about how the town was 41 years ago and how it's developed over the years and what you've seen.
We've had, you know, I think Rutland, there was always, you know, I mean, going back to Ernie Royal, God rest his soul, he was the prince among men. I mean, there was a guy who came a long way. I had nothing but respect for that man. He was a phenomenal man. And, you know, you had the guys like Johnny Petroni's, guys that made, you know, they made restaurants here, and they were good restaurateurs. You know, even Mike Papineau, when he had Pappy's Pappy's downtown, he ran that. He was a restaurateur. You know, they knew how to run a business, restaurants. And it seems that it's gotten away from that. You know, Dave, I look at it sometimes and I say to people, because I've gone to food shows and, you know, people that are in the business say, hey, you want to go to the food show with me and see what's, you know, so I'll say, yeah, I'd go for, you know, take a ride. But I'm a dinosaur in the trades now, you know, because I was in the day when you made everything, you know, you bake the bread, you make the desserts. I made it, you know, at the Red Clover Inn, every day we made, you know, honey bran bread that went out a little individual loaf, every table on a cutting board with a knife. You had the cheesecake of the day. You know, your handwritten menu, you made 6 entrees, you know, maybe 5, 6 appetizers, you know, 4 or 5 desserts. It was a handwritten menu. And I went out, I would pick the apples off the apple tree in the back of the Red Clover and make an apple crisp or an apple cobbler. we had a plum tree out there. One of the houses they used to call a plum tree. I'd go pick the plums and I'd do a roast duckling, Long Island duckling with a brandy plum sauce from the plums right there. I had an herb garden there. Go pick the fresh herbs, to make a hollandaise or a béarnaise sauce. You made them from scratch. Nowadays they buy it, it's a powder. You whip it up with water and boom, you got the hollandaise. And there are chefs out there to do but for the most part, everything is ready to go. You could buy salad mix now, for God's sakes, that has 5 different kinds of lettuces and it's got a shelf life of 3 weeks, because it's loaded with chemicals. I don't want that. I used to, buy the lettuce, pick out the bad parts, wash it, clean it, mix the lettuce, and make a nice salad from, make your own dressings. All the dressings were made. All the soups were made. I mean, I've seen places, you get the block this big of frozen soup. It's in a plastic bag. They throw it in the kettle, open the bag, pour it in, you got soup. I did some consulting for a guy one time. They were going to open a place. They were buying frozen mashed potatoes. And I said, Jesus, what are you thinking about here? You can't make mashed potatoes. Shut the door. Go sell shoes. I don't know. You're in the wrong business, pal. You ain't making mashed potatoes. I don't know. It makes me laugh, but you know what? I'm glad that I was a part of that. I was glad to come up. And people ask me, like, where'd you study culinary? I said, I studied under my old Italian grandmother. She was 4'7", didn't speak English. She taught me to cook. She taught me my love for food. She taught me, taste. And Dennis Talignan, who was the owner of the Red Clover Inn, his father, Don Talignan, was a chef. He studied in Austrian. And Dennis always said to me, he said, Lenny, he said, you're blessed with a gift. And I am. For the fact that he said, he said, what you have is you know how to make food taste good. He said, that's your gift. Because he said, I know people that studied Culinary Institute and this, that, and the other, but they just don't know. He said, you can taste something and you'll say a little of this, a little of that, a little more of this. And then, right there, if you can taste something and, if you taste an herb or a spice and something, you put too much. You want them to meld together. You want it to blend. You want it to, and I always said, as a chef, I was a maestro. You were the maestro. You know what I mean? Let's get more tubas. Let's get the strings in here now. Let's get this. And when you're planning a party or it's a banquet or a Saturday night in service, everything at the end of the evening, when everything comes together, everything is there. The sauces, everything is ready, and you put it out. Then the symphony comes. That's the way I felt. I brought a symphony together, and yeah, I am blessed to be able to have that in my life. Not many people could say that, and I've worked in places where I hated the job. I said, well, what am I doing here? But I always made the best of it. I took the lemons and I made lemonade, oh, yeah. Or I made limoncello, but I did, you enjoy what you got, because that's what you got. I had a friend of mine used to say, when you finally get there, don't say, is that all there is? Because that's all there is. That's it in a nutshell, I think, But
those relationships you made as a chef, though, I mean, it seems like you're the type of guy who would come out and see how everybody's doing.
All the time. That's where,
yeah.
Like, like I worked in places where, the owner, I'm in the back and I'm cooking all the food and everything. And then the owner would go out and take the bows and say, oh, beautiful job tonight, and they were watching the ball game or doing something else, and everybody goes, and then, and that happened to me one time. I remember working in a restaurant, and there was this gentleman that he was from New York somewhere, but a very wealthy guy. He used to come in, and the owner would always go out and sit with him. And the guy drove a Rolls Royce. He was like, the owner was enamored with the guy. Oh, Mr. So-and-so's here. And I cooked for this guy for years. I mean, I knew what he wanted, how he liked it. And I'd cook it. And, and the guy, this owner would come in. Oh, so-and-so's here. Okay, I'll make him his dish. I'm making everything. And then he'd bring it out there, put it down. He'd sit down, have a glass of wine with the owner. And he loved it. And so one time the owner wasn't there. He had to bring his, I don't know, he went somewhere. He wasn't there that weekend. And this guy comes in, and I made him his dish, and the waitress comes in, and she said, so and so asked for the boss wanted to know where he was, and I told him he wasn't, because usually the owner would go out and sit with him and fawn all over him, and he wasn't there that weekend. So the guy goes, yeah, it shows. You could tell in the food. I was livid. I was like, what? I wanted to go out there and, mush it in his face, because I'm thinking to myself, but, you put up with that. That's, those are things that unless you own your own. But what I did do, I built a nice name for myself that I'm proud of. And I'm very well respected as a chef in this area. When I went to, when I went to work for Sabby's, I remember saying, oh, Chef Leonardo's coming to work for me. And that first week there, I was there. I mean, we did 190 dinners on a Saturday night. I said, you're killing me. I said, I got a crew that I don't know. You got a menu that's a sports bar menu. Let me, but, what I did there was I put more Italian into it, started doing the specials, doing all your nice dishes and the pasta dishes and the veal and the chicken and so on and so forth. I love to create. I love working with food. And like, even to this day, I mean, like, I'll cook at home. I love cooking. And, Susan would always say to me, geez, honey, you're working. So I said, this is what I enjoy. I got a nice commercial stove in my kitchen. I got a nice kitchen that's, and all the pots and pans hanging down, but I can do it. I often thought about after this, I said, maybe I should do a cooking show from here, cooking with Big Lenny or something, and
hey, Peg TV awaits.
I know, and as a matter of fact, I talked about that, and Chris Vibe had, from Vibe Studio came here during the summertime. When we originally talked about this, about doing it with AJ, and he came and we met in my yard, and I have a great barber out back in the courtyard, and we're sitting under the grapevine. I got music playing out there and everything. And he said to me, this is beautiful out here. And I said, well, that's why I love it. I'm happy here. And he said, I would love to get Peg TV here and do a thing with you and AJ out in the courtyard, like the old Italians sitting out back talking, about the old days, having an espresso or something. He goes, this would be beautiful. I said, that'd be a wonderful thing. But it never happened, because then COVID hit and push came to shove and everything. So we got to settle for you looking at me on a screen and me having coffee over here in the big mug.
Well, you keep bringing up the Italian side of things, and I myself, my mom was a Monteleone, so I understand and everything. But it's like, what section of Italy does your people come from? I mean, are they?
My father's family is from Naples.
Okay.
They're Napolitan, they were considered. And my mother's family is they're from Cercamaggiore, Provincia di Campobasso, which is it's La Molinese. It's like South Central, farmland and stuff. My family, they've got olive trees and grapes and everything. They there's still a lot of family there in Italy. I speak Italian. I speak it, but it's funny. I learned to speak from my grandmother. I taught her. She learned to speak broken English, and I speak broken Italian. I call it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. See, I was the same way. My my grandmother Monteleone, and then my great grandmother was from the old country. So, like on Friday, she'd walk around the house saying "fishy, fishy bacala,"
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things, And I don't know. It made it special. And when I got married here in Rutland, I married a girl who ended up, she's the granddaughter of Vic Pizzanelli, Sr.
Oh,
so,
sure.
I know you knew Vic. I know you knew the Pizzanelli.
I got a scar across my belly from him. He surgery him. I had all the Pizzanellis work on me. Vic Jr. and Patty, they all worked on me there when they operated on took my gallbladder out years ago. And Vic Pizzanelli was a character, the doc, old doc.
Tell me about old Doc, because I never got a chance to meet him, and my wife always tells me I would have loved it.
I'll never forget. I go to the hospital. I get my gallbladder out, right? And and then now they do it, or what is it, laparoscopic? You just put little holes. Me, I'm cut like this here. I got a thing across my belly over here. I don't want to pull my shirt up and show you, but and it's it's like this long. So because they couldn't, he said, well, because of your size, and back then they were just starting the laparoscopic. So he anyway, all the time, like the kids would be over and I'd pull up my shirt and I'd show them. I said, Vietnam bayonet wound. And the kids go, oh, they look at you like, it's my gallbladder, But they laugh like hell. So Vic comes in, and now they did the surgery, and he's got to you got a drain in you, right? They got a drain that goes in you. I never had surgery like that. Well, I got a drain in, so he's got to take the drain out. So he comes in, he goes, hey, how you doing, Lenny? He goes, I'm going to take the drain out today, And I said, oh, okay. And he goes, so he's fidgeting around with it on the side of him. He's over there like, he's going like that. And he goes to me, do you like to sing? And I went, and he pulls it, and he goes, oh! I go like that. And he goes, yeah, you do sing. He goes, but he was a character. He was the best. My ex-wife had given me, as a birthday present years ago, classes at the carving studio. To stone carving over in West Rutland. And I loved it. I mean, I went down there and I took from Bernadette Diamoro, who was the originator of the carving studio, and Christoph Spath, who did the big one down by Little Harry's, Nick, all of the original ones were there anyway. So anyway, I really got into it, and I built a bench, and I was looking for carving tools. So I had put an ad in, I don't know, it was like Sam's Good News or something, looking for stone carving tools. So people would call me up and say, well, you know what, I cleaned out the cellar and this, that, and the other. Well, Vic Pizzanelli Sr., Dr. Pizzanelli, the old man, his I think it was his grandfather.
Noni, yeah, his grandfather
was the carver. So he called me and he said, Lenny, he come over and he said to me, I got something for you. He gave me tools of his.
You have Noni's tools?
Yeah, I have some of his tools. He said, some of them I kept. He said, some of them I kept. He said that, I don't know, he had something made out of them. But I have a few of them that have the name, had Pizzanelli on them, that he had given me. And he said to me, I want you to have this because this would make him happy to know that someone is using those. And in my workshop, I still have a bench that I built, a carving bench, but I haven't touched it in years because I said someday when I'm retired, it was always unfortunate that I had to work all the time. But I have some tools from Tony Pizzanelli, that Vic gave me.
See, Noni, I've seen he carved the tombstone, the old Italian cemetery that's over near St. Peter's?
Yep.
Carved the tombstone that's in there for like the whole family.
Yeah.
So and then that's also I knew Dot. That's where we laid Dot to rest. Okay. So next to Vic Senior. So I always wanted to meet Vic Senior. You got any more stories about Doc?
He was a character. He was just a character, though. Funniest guy, great personality, and Patty too. And Vic Jr. Like I said, very he's great guys. They're great family, but Vic Sr. he was the character. He was the character. Yeah. Patty was funny too. Patty was telling me, when she operated on me, she had come from, I forgot where. She worked in a big hospital. Like I don't know where, if it was like Chicago or something like that, in a city though, in a big city. And she was, I remember her saying, give me this analogy or something. She goes, I'm used to handling things. She goes, I have to, they'd be bringing them in with bullet wounds. I got to jump on their chest and crack the chest open out in the parking lot, and I'm going, oh boy, then I'm going, well, I got the right doctor for the job, Oh yeah. Okay. They were just great people. Yeah. Great people, great family. And, Johnny Pizzanelli, good friend, all the Pizzanellis were good friends of mine because my friend Reggie Grunewald that I said that lived on the corner of Madison and Pleasant. Well, all the neighbors were Pizzanellis. Yeah,
they all still have houses.
Yeah, we just lost Anne Marie, just died, and they're all gone. Jeannie's gone. Huey, they all lived over there. So and I knew John Pizzanelli, the father too. we would go over there. We would party together all the time, you know, and he loved, my mother would come up here. She loved the Pizzanellis, you know, because John was funny too. You know, John Senior. He was a
yeah, Big Johnny.
yeah. He was a funny man. He was another character. Yeah, Mary Pizzanelli. They're just great. I mean, we'd go over there all the time and see him, and they're just wonderful. You know, that's when I you know, like I said, I came here and I knew all these are old families. Pizzanelli's had a store in where my inside job was. Did you know that was a Pizzanelli store at one time?
You know, I'd heard about that once before, but I didn't know it was right there.
It was right there in the 30s. And as a matter of fact, in my shop, in the window, right above the front window, there's this big black steel bar that goes, it wraps around, it's got a hook, it hangs. And that's where they used to hang all the salamis and provolones hung off there. It's still in that building. Yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact, I got a picture somewhere of Johnny, I think it's Johnny, Anne Marie, and Jeannie, as little kids standing out in front of there.
Oh, dude, I would love to see that. I know them all, yo.
Okay, I gotta find. I'll find that picture.
Yeah,
I'll find that picture. And
well, you know, you talk about the Pizzanellis, you talk about, you know, family here in Vermont and the way things are. Tell me a little bit more about some of the families that you know that you've become close with or known over the years that you feel
Lee Ryan, really Lee Ryan, Casabianca. Lee Ryan from the Casabianca. Oh, okay, unbelievable. I loved Lee. I've known her, you know, as a matter of fact, at one time, Lee wanted me to go to work for her. And Judy always said to me, you know, Lenny, if you took the restaurant from Ma, she said it would have still been going, you know, because she said you were like a male Lee, you know, and that's it, you know, because we you know what I mean? We love people. We were down to earth people, and we, you know, loved, you know, but she had, you know, young Jeff was working for her, and she wanted me to go to work for her. And I said, Lee, you know, Jeff's got a family, and, you know, he's got kids. He's your head guy. I'm not going to go be the head guy. All of a sudden, he's got to work for me. I said, you keep him. He's a good boy. You know what I mean? And I just never would, you know, but yeah, Leonora was, she's something else. And the aunts, they were all, you know, it was all of the Bobes, you know, Doc Bobe. Ernie Bobe. I mean, young Ernie. I didn't know old Doc Bobe. I knew Ernie Bobe. Ernie's a character. But yeah, he's a character. He's oh boy. But you know, like I said, and you know, Tommy LaPlaca. I mean, he always called me the Meatball. Hey, Meatball, what are you doing? You know, and it was like they're family. These people are family to me. You know what I mean? I mean, the LaPlacas, they're family. The Pizzanellis, they're family. I mean, I just, as far as when I first moved to Rutland, the week I moved to Rutland, it was in September. It was right before foliage, I remember, and that was been 1979. I was married, so yeah, I think it was 79 September. It was either, yeah, it was 80. Yeah, it was 79. And the first guy I ever met in Rutland, he's my oldest friend in Rutland, Cal Jocelyn, the barber. Cal, I went down. It was funny. I said to my ex-wife, I said, you know, I said, I got to get a haircut. I said, there's an Italian barber shop down the street. I said, I see Rotella's, you know. I said, I'm going to take a walk down, go get a haircut. So I walk in there, and I go in, and Cal's there, and I meet Cal, you know, and he cuts my hair, and we really hit it off. He told me, oh, I'm from Providence, Rhode Island originally, you know, and that's, oh, no kidding, you know, and we're talking over there, and really hit it off great, you know, and I really enjoyed talking with him. We were having laughs and everything. So it was about a week and a half later, I said to the wife, I'm going to get on to get a haircut again. She goes, Jesus, we're all of a sudden you're getting haircuts all the time. I said, well, that's my buddy down there. I want to go see him, right? So, you know, and I would stop. Benji's was on the corner where my place is now, was Benji's at the time. Benji Vanilla owned it. It was a bar. So I go down there, I get a glass of beer, I go get my haircut. You know, it was nice. And so anyways, it was about a week and a half later, I get down there and I walk in and I go to get my haircut. And I said, where's Cal, the barber? And some girl goes to me, oh, he's not here anymore. And they said, he's not here. She goes, yeah, he had a nervous breakdown. She goes, and I looked at her, I said, nervous breakdown? This guy's like King Kong. What do you mean he had a nervous breakdown? She goes, well, I can cut your hair if you want. I said, no, thanks. I'm all set. And I leave. I'm walking out. All of a sudden, another girl comes running out the back, and she run up the sidewalk to me. She said, Cal's opened his own place. She said, he's down the street over Hollywood Barber Shop next to Marble. She goes, and I was pissed. I'm the old Italian. I got the Italian. What did she tell me that for? The guy had a nervous breakdown. So I went right down there. I go right down to the barber shop, and I go in and he said, hey, how are you? And I said, you know what they told me? And Cal, I was mad. I was mad that they said that to me. And he goes, don't worry about it. So he started coming in. We became best of friends. His wife, Sandy, I used to go over to Bridgewater where they lived, and I knew all of his boys, Greg and, Cal and Steven and David. I knew all his sons. I mean, I watched them grow up, these kids. And, but that's old school. I mean, they're old school friends, they're friends for life. I don't see Cal as much as I should, but he's like a friend for life. That's somebody, you take that to the grave, a friendship like that. But
old school is one thing that definitely comes to mind when you think about Rutland, that old school work ethic and the old school family.
You hear the stories. I mean, I remember when Johnny Casarino ran for mayor, he asked me if I'd come out in support of him, right? So down where Creed Ice is, right? Where Creed Ice is, and the thing over there, it was empty at the time, the building, because it was a store originally when I first moved here. And so anyways, the building was empty. So they were having a thing there, and they were going to have like a press conference. I don't know, whatever it could be. But, they made the thing. There was like one of the Channel 3 News, somebody was there, and he was making the announcement that he was going to run for mayor. And so I went down there, and I was down there, and everybody, hey, Big Lenny. And he goes, I like to say my friend Big Lenny, and, come out and supported me over here. And everybody's clapping, hey, and everything. So one of the guys from Channel 3 goes, who are you? He goes, you got a bigger applause. You should run for the mayor. He said, you got more applause than he got for running for mayor. And I said, I'm the hot dog man. I went like that, But Johnny, and Mary, just wonderful people. I mean, these are friendships that I've made over the years, you know what I mean? And I just, I can go on and on with the old timers in Rutland. I love them, I mean, it was all the knots, Lucy Knott, John Knott, all the gang, and Dipper De Palma, Johnny Ruggiero, his mother, Anna Ruggiero, was dear friends with my mother, Because, like I said, I've been here 41 years. So my mother, of course, the Italians, where, you were close. I mean, we went to visit the Pizzanellis. We went to visit the Ruggieros. My mother knew all of the, she'd make Italian cookies. I'm making Anazette cookies. I'm going to make the Panoli cookies. I got to go see Anna Ruggiero, it's great, and they always ask for my mother. And my mom's 96 now. She's in a nursing home in Connecticut, but God bless her. But
now there's a few different traditions that have always been around Rutland, like the Halloween parade. And then you got a pretty sizable chunk of the MSJ Rutland rivalry back when it was in its prime.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Tell me a little bit about what
Tommy LaPlaca always would. I still got one. I wear the MSJ shirt. I always wear, it says, I forgot what it says on it, but it says MSJ, and it says, fear none. Some fear all. I don't know. But anyways, I still wear it to this day, that T-shirt. And he used to give them to me all the time. So one day I'm in Tennybrook Market, and Coach from Rutland is in there, right? And he sees me. I'm wearing the MSJ shirt. And he looks over at me and he goes, I see you wearing the MSJ shirt all the time. He said, I'd like to see you wearing a Rutland shirt. And I looked at him. I said, let me tell you something. I said, you see this shirt? Doc LaPlaca gives me these shirts. All I want. He gives them to me all the time. When you start giving me free shirts, I'll wear your shirt. I said, right now I'm wearing MSJ. I went like that to him. He looked at me. He didn't know what to say. I walked away. But that's loyalty, Dave. That's loyalty. I mean, that's the, and I shouldn't just say that's the Italians, but I'm old school Italian, and that's loyalty. The Irish, probably the French, they have the same thing. But I don't know. To me, the Italians just, they got that there's something in them that they're like, hey, it's not right,
Well, that loyalty is a big part of how you built your reputation in this town.
Amen. Yeah. And and that's what it is. I love people. I love people, and I care about people. And it's like I said, I ask people, like how they're doing. It's because I care about how they're doing. And here was a quick one. An old timer one day comes in. This guy, geez, he must have been like 87 years. I don't know. He was an old man. I don't know who he was. And he came in and he said, "Hey, how are you today, sir? How's everything?" And he looked at me, he goes, "Oh, me? I'm terrific. I'm fantastic." I said, "Really? That's great. I love hearing that there." He goes, "Well, not really." He goes, "But I don't want to hear your damn sob stories either." He goes, "If I tell you," and I started laughing. I said, "Good for you. Good for you."
But no, my grandmother Montuori always used to say, "Never ask an Italian how they're doing; they'll tell you."
But yeah, you're gonna have to listen. You're gonna have to sit through it. Monteleone, that's a big. Mine's Montuori, but Monteleone, yeah, that's a beautiful name. Now, what area?
Mountain Lion Sicilian is what it comes from, but we also got a lot of family in Torino.
Okay.
Yeah, Northern Italians, Monaco, Benvenuto, that bunch.
Oh yeah. Nice. No, it's just I can speak Italian. If you put me in a room with an Italian, I can carry on a conversation. My problem is you don't use it, you lose it. I've gotten to the point. But so Johnny Ruggiero, when I see him, we talk Italian. Louis Giuliano, if I see him with him, we'll talk Italian on and off. Because if you don't talk Italian, you forget the words. But it's funny because what I speak is an old world dialect, and I've had people that when I'll speak it, they look at me, they laugh, and they'll say, "Well, where'd you learn to talk Italian like that?" Because they said, "I haven't heard that since my great grandmother," And I said, "Well, that's where I learned it from, my grandmother." You know what I mean? And she'd be 100 and something. I'm 70, going to be 72 in March. So that's where I learned it from. But it's like hieroglyphics. It's the old. It's a dialect that's dead now. You know what I mean? But
that's the way I heard my great grandmother speak it and stuff like that. I mean, when I'd be around their house, that would be what I would hear because they were from the old country.
You're from the old country, right?
It was always broken English.
Right. And nowadays, like they would say, like I said, like you ask them, like they would say, "How do you say sidewalk in Italian?" They say sidewalk, sidewalk. Backhouse was the toilet, but it was the back house, the outhouse. It's cabinet in Italian. Or like the sidewalk is march via, march your feet on, but they call it sidewalk. It was half English, half Italian.
Well, it's all those words, man. When I was a kid, we'd always spend time at my Aunt Joanne's, and she had 7 kids. So everybody would congregate in the kitchen, all the aunts and the uncles and the old. My mom was a North Kansas City Italian. Okay. So, it's all the people coming around. They're in the kitchen. There's homemade wine. Yeah. Aunt Joanne's making her manicotti, and everybody's like, conversing. It's a lot to take in as a kid, but it was always something I loved.
There was, and I grew up like that. I had such a flavor for my family. We lived in a 3-family house on the 2nd floor. My mother was born in that house in 1924. My grandparents came early 1900s, and my grandfather came by himself, and then he sent for my grandmother. And he got the house and got set up, got a job and stuff. Then she came. And, but we had for in the city, I mean, it was a big 3-family house, but we had like 2.5 acres. We had gardens. It was like, we had 14 apple trees, 4 pear trees, 8 peach trees, and we had plum trees and, it was all the fruits and gardens, she canned everything, and my grandfather was a monster of a man, big man, and she was 4'7", I mean, it was like, but growing up, it was great. We had a big grape arbor out back, and that's, the signature. You got to have that. That's why first thing I did when I bought this house was I planted grapes out back. And, but we had a 20-foot picnic table in the backyard under this grape arbor. It was like maybe 30 feet long. And, there was a brick fireplace out there where we would make a fire on. She would roast peppers on and do all that, cook outside on down in the basement. She had a stove, an old Glenwood stove, up on legs, those old gray and white stoves. which I still have. I brought it here when I moved here 41 years ago. It's up in my shed. I keep it up in the barn.
Wow.
I still have it was my great aunt's stove from the early 1900s, but I still have that stove. My grandmother baked all her bread on that. I have pans from my grandmother that we ate meals in every night. I just, that's important to me. We didn't have much, but everything that I had that was my grandparents, I love. I mean, I still have my grandmother's, we call them mapins, where the dish towels, they call them a mapin. And they were made from flour sacks. These are from the 30s. And you can still see I mean, they wear like iron. You can still see the print where the flour label on the sack was,
Wow.
but these are treasures to me. I use them, you know what I mean? Those, the big mapins that were like, 2 feet square. You always, if you were bringing a big pot of macaroni to somebody's house, homemade cavadillas, you put the pan in there and you tied it, in the handle, you tied it up, that you grabbed it by that and you carried it.
Yeah.
It was, it's just little mementos to me like that are so important to have with my grandparents, and it's just great, but so that's what I found when I moved here, the love of the people from the gut, the old Italians, the love that they have for, family and stuff. That's what I loved about Rutland, and I often said, I wish I grew up here, but, for 41 years, I did grow up here, I feel,
Well, it sounds like that was the connection that made it feel like home.
Exactly. When I saw people like the Pizzanellis and the Boves and all these old families, Italian families, and their love for Rutland and everything, I used to go hang around and have a beer with Jack Daly, the mayor. He lived because I lived on Madison Street. I lived right across the street. I lived at 26 Madison when I moved there, before I bought my house here in Rutland town.
Mm-hmm.
And that would it. I'd go over there and we'd have a beer together, and it was great. I'd sit out on my roof and watch the parades, because the parades started right on Madison every time there was a parade.
You've lived a long time here. You've seen a lot of the changes, but there's still so many good things about where we live. Tell me a little bit about what you see as far as the bright future of Rutland.
We're blessed. We did take some turns. I feel that Rutland for a while there was really getting, having some bad times, where things were businesses and crime, but nothing, when I tell people, when they complain, I said, you never lived somewhere else. Don't complain about Rutland. Rutland's a beautiful city. I said, and I'm blessed to live here. But as I see now, and it's unfortunate for the pandemic that happened with this COVID, because it killed a lot of business and stuff. But Rutland is a strong community, and I really feel that they're going to make it back. We are making it back, because we're cutting the suit to fit the cloth. You know what I mean? And that's what I see about people in Rutland. Mm-hmm. They cut the suit to fit the cloth, and we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. It's going to take, because you've got people in this town that care about it, and like the Giancolas that have done a lot for this town, making businesses, and the House Center, and fixing things up in downtown. We've got people in office that are really watching young blood now that wants to make it a better place. They want to raise their family. They want to make it a better place to raise their families. They want to bring people here, and this is what it's going to take. And now since COVID hit, a lot of people are moved from away. They're coming. They want to settle up here more. So we just, a house on our street sold about 2 months ago, and they're the woman is from she's from New York, and like she said, she asked me, she said, but is this a safe neighborhood? I said, it's all family on this. I said, the Galapos, everybody knows everybody, or Kennedy's, Kellogg's. I said, we're all neighbors here, and I said, and I see her now that she's been there, and she loves it, and she's going, oh my God, it's because everybody reaches out, and you welcome them and everything, and it's great, and you watch out for people. You know, I like that. See, and I treat people the way I want to be treated. And you know what? It works, Dave, because that's what I get back. You know, when I fell on some bad times and I was overwhelmed at all how people reached out to me to help and everything. And a friend of mine, Petey Pocaro, was another beautiful, God bless family, Pocaros in this town. Porky Pocaro, his father, and you know, we go back from the Italian club and stuff. And like Petey said, you know, Lenny, the chickens are coming home to roost. He said, that's what it is. And it's true. You know, I always cared for people, and that's why people care for me, I guess. And if I could say one thing to go from this here, that people should do this more, Dave. Just care about your neighbors, care about your friends, because it's times like this you need people. You know, an old timer said to me once that his grandfather told him, even if you don't like your neighbors, be good to them, because some time comes you're going to need those neighbors, and you want to be able to reach out to people and help them because they'll help you. And that's important. I really feel that. And so if anything comes of this here, I think that's the key, is to be good to people. And we'll keep this beautiful city of Rutland going. You know what I mean? Because that's what we have. We got hometown USA right here.